wanted to explain today really quick the difference between a points correct car and one that isn't, okay? Which in my opinion, that's a deep rabbit hole. There's a lot of arguments, right, on that. But this car is going to be a great example of what is not points correct, right? Even though when we're done with it, it's going to look all original, and this is a matching number car, but the customer wanted it nicer than it was from the factory, right? So as soon as we do that, boom, the car is not correct, because it's what we call over restored. If we look at all the front end parts, we know that everything was powder coated. On a points correct car, you're not going to have powder coated. You'll have lower control arms will still have Cosmoline on them from being dipped. If we look inside this car, obviously look how nice that is. It's all coated, so it won't rust, right? You look at the floorboards, definitely were not like that from the factory. Factory was just maybe a little overspray, but then again, that's why we've got the problem with so many floorboards being rusted out, trunks being rusted out. Even though Mopar did paint, you know, the back on the trunk, but still with the mats and stuff, it would get your rust. One of the things that you look for is on the VIN tag. With all the cars in my career that I've been able to see that were non-restored, the only time that I'm gonna really believe that that's the way it came from the factory is because I'm looking at a car that was a survivor car or something like that. On the VIN tag, I noticed a lot of times if you see this one, it's all painted, both screws are painted. All the cars I've seen that were not molested here, I don't know if you can get a shot of that, the screws are painted on this one. On the cars that were never, restored, one screw would be not painted. And that's because from my little research, they would bend this tag up as it was going down, they'd paint them, bend the tag back, put the screw in. Well, guess what? That screw they took out didn't get paint on it. So that's a good little example, same thing if we look here, we're looking at the K-members powder coated, it's beautiful, well, factory wasn't like that. We're not gonna have all the markings that as it went through the assembly line, they'd have to mark stuff off as it being, done, right? Okay, this was done, that was tightened. We don't have any of that in this car because this car is just, we're doing it that much nicer. That's just the way it is, And again, you're gonna start getting into these arguments. All these guys will start, writing me or arguing me. Oh, I go, look, unless you were there in the 60s, you're gonna tell me somebody didn't forget to mark a car? Or you get these shops that are, do everything correct, supposedly, and then it's got a $50,000, $60,000 paint job and body work. Well, guess what? The car wasn't like that original, was it? It didn't come with perfect gaps and perfectly straight paint. So in my opinion, that's an argument for me. I've looked at some of these good shops. I'm not gonna say they do beautiful work. They're like, well, this is the correct way to do it. Yeah, all the markings, you're right. Was the body this good? No. So they'll argue with you, you shouldn't have painted that car because it wasn't that color. Okay, well, you shouldn't have done such a beautiful body work on it either because it wasn't like that. So, again, we can go on forever, but for this shorty, I just wanted to explain points correct, markings, a lot of stuff wasn't painted, no painting on the bottom of the car. It just had, maybe the little bit of rust coating or the dealers would do some rust, coating. They weren't what I would consider, over restored in a good way, right? It's just, the car is just very nice and clean. So that's the difference between a points correct car and you got to choose. What do you like? I prefer the car that's a little bit over restored because I'm kind of a neat freak and I don't like rust on my stuff. So but that's me. That's what the beautiful thing about these cars are, I get it. You want an original car. Look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have what I want. And that's just my opinion, right? So anyway, just wanted to run by you guys today. Hopefully that was helpful.